Okay, so this video is meant to be watched before you start the 11 or 12 or 13 videos that are in the Personalized Bobblehead Project. And it's just meant to correct a couple of things and show a couple of examples of how some things in the video aren't quite perfect and things that you should consider. The first one is the size. The height that I mentioned in the video is like 5 inches tall for your prints, which is okay, but at times I make the body 5 inches. Your total print should really only be about 4.5 inches tall. And if you're going to put it on a 1/2 inch base, then your body's only going to be 4 inches tall. So if this is an inch, this is going to be 4 inches, you know, at most. This is an inch, maybe 3.5 inches. I would really suggest if that's an inch, which is big, I would make this 4 and make it a total of 5. But you really don't want to get outside of 5 inches. And then your head, I mean, if you look at mine, it's enormous. I made my head somewhere in the looks like 3 inches tall. It's just too big. So it really should be closer to 2.5. That's more the appropriate size. So, you know, hopefully you'll make that change and that'll come out better. You can see Michael did his head is way too small, so if you look at the two of them side by side, his is too small, and he must have had a problem with his scaling, but that's wrong. So that's all of that. Now this, if you notice, my body's only 4.5 inches, is only the same as this, 4.5 inches tall, but I had to make that smaller to fit on my plate, which is not good. Some of the other things to pay attention to is that when you have objects in your scan that are really like thin, like for example, Cooper has that barbell going across. It's fine, it came out okay, but the problem's going to be that at the end of all this, we have to crack all this support material off. It's going to go really ugly when he tries to crack that off and not try to break that bar. To be honest with you, it's probably pretty likely it's going to break in places. So when you make your prints and you have objects that are thin like that, on Inventor or in Mesh Mixer, wherever you're making it, purposely make them oversized. Yes, they won't look great, it won't look exactly like the exact diameter of a barbell should be, but it'll hold up to you cracking all the support material off, and you'd rather have something representing what you're trying to accomplish than nothing. You can see Michael's going to have a similar problem. He's got ski poles buried inside of all of this. This is all mostly going to get cracked away, and he's going to have a really difficult time doing that. Another thing we should talk about is your scans themselves. If you make big, complicated scans like mine is, and I made this purposely, just use it as an example, things can go bad. So at some point, one, it's enormous, which is way too big. This took 17 hours and 15 minutes to print. Your average one like this one is going to take like between 4 and 6 hours, maybe a little less. But so here's my really big print. Now you'll notice it went overnight, and at some point during the night, the back of my chair got cut off, and it didn't quite, something skipped or broke or whatever happened, and so it all printed out a mess like this. So I'm going to lose the back of my chair. It's not going to exist. You know, I'll pull all that off, and that's essentially what the back of my chair is going to look like. I can live with that. The problem we ran into is that if you look at my head, when that happened, the printer must have skipped or something crazy, because look, there's an entire line through my head. If you've ever seen the movie Hannibal or whatever, Red Dragon, no, it's Hannibal, where he does that thing where he cuts the top of his head off. That's what it looks like. That's really not what we're going for. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of glad that it happened, because it'll be a forever good little example that we can show kids of why you shouldn't have big, immense, complicated prints. They should be smaller like Cooper's and Michael's is over here. The last thing is to take a look at the lettering. I mentioned how the lettering is easier to deal with, and I don't know how well you'll see this, but you can see my lettering, which I put out at an angle, came out really nicely. You can see it. It says Mr. Duff, Technology Teacher. It's really easy to read. Cooper's, and this was something that he didn't do it wrong. This is how we did it back then. His says Cooper Willis something underneath all of that, because the letters came straight off the object. It had to build support material. Taking that support material off is really almost impossibly difficult. We've tried it in the past and it hasn't turned out great. I have another one here. Oh, that one's at an angle. I can show you this one. This was one of the first ones we ever did. It's Kristen Schaefer, and we spent quite a bit of time trying to scrape hers off. And again, it's blue, it's a different color, it might be hard to see, but you really can't read it. It's supposed to say Kristen Schaefer JV All-Star, and you really can't read it very well. So it's the reason that you have to do it at an angle. You could also do it straight up. But don't know how much straight up is. The idea is to walk over to it and read it, and so you don't want to have to like put your head over the top and be able to read it. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's another one of these videos, another like before you do everything else, consider these things. But all the stuff we just talked about, realize there are some mistakes in the videos and that to pay attention to these things and to set some things up that are going to matter, like the thickness of the bar is a big one. When you have thin stuff, make it thicker. So if you have any questions, obviously come up and ask. Otherwise, good luck.